Hello friends, welcome to our class. Now we are going to start architecture and sculpture, ancient, medieval and modern. Let's see. Harappan civilization or Indus Valley civilization art. It was Bronze Age civilization that flourished in the basin of the Indus and Ganga river. The city of Harappa and the Mohenjo-daro showcase one of the earliest example of the civil planning. The important sites in India are Lothal and Dhaulavira, Gujarat, Rakhi Ghari, Haryana, Ropan, Punjab, Kalibanga and Balthal, Rajasthan, etc. Extensive town planning. Individuals' home or groups of the home obtained the water from walls. The sewage and the drainage were from far from the advanced than any found in contemporary urban sites. The road used to cut at the right angles. Houses were built of the backed bricks or fixed size. The concept of the two stories house was also present. Use of the stone and the wood in the buildings has also been found. Citadels were supposed to be the habitation of the elites. Granaries used to be located in settled. The public bath was the common features. Great, great bath at Mohenjo-daro. Most city dwellers appears to have been traders or artisans. City for elites and upper city for elite, lower city for non-settled or commerce. Spinning of the cotton and wool was common among the Harappan people. Seal. A square, rectangular, or the circular or triangular pieces of material. They also are a square plus 2 into 2 square in made for the statite. Some seals are also in gold and ivory. A script written in right to left and it is still to be this affair. Animal like the bull, elephant, tiger, goat, monsters are used in the depiction. Trees or human figure were also depicted. Example: Pasupati seal and unicorn seal. A sculpture, a stone sculpture, the torso in red stones, the bust of the bearded man is a bearded man in the statite, the bronze sculpture, a statue of the dancing girl, the buffalo with its uplifted head, back and sweeping horns and to horn the goat or the artistic merit. Lost wax technique. First wax figure were covered with the coating of the clay and allowed to dry. Then it is heated and the molten wax is allowed to drain out the brought a tiny hole at the bottom. The whole mound is then filled with the bronze or any other metal. Once the metal is cooled, the clay is recovered. Terracotta. Terracotta is the fire-backed clay used and in the handmade using pinching method. The terracotta representation of the human from the crude. Example: Mother Goddess toy craft with wheels, whistles, bird and animals. Pottery. It is mainly of the Very fine wheel made were very few beginning hand made. The potteries were the mainly plain and red black painted pottery. It is more common. It is for red clay with the without a fine red or grey slip. Black painted work. It has a fine coating of the red slip on the which geometric and the animal design or the executed in glossy back paint. Use of the pottery, storage of the water and food grain, etc. Miniature vessels were used for decoration. Per, Perforated pottery was probably used and stirring liquor, beads and ornaments. The precious metal gemstone bond to even backed clay or found. A necklace, armlets, and finger rings were common and worn by the both male and female. Women wore uh, girdles, earrings, and anklets. The bed industries, the florist at the Chahundro and Lothal bead were the made of the kernels and kernels, amethysts, statites, and tortoises, etc., and are the varying shapes discast, cylindrical, spherical, barrel-shaped, and the segmented. Harappan was also conscious of the fashion as the different hairstyle, wearing of the bed, etc. have been found. The chinamber was used and the cosmetic, lipstick, face painted, even the eyeliner all were known to them. IVC site. Important archaeological findings. Harappa, Pakistan, on the bank of Ravi. Two row of six granaries with big platform. Uh, a stone symbol of the lingam and yoni. Lingam, mother goddess figure. Wheat and barley in wooden mortar dish, copper scale and mirror. A sculptured dog chasing a deer in the bronze and red sand, male and torso. Mohenjo-daro, Pakistan, on bank of Indus. The settled and the Great Bath, the Great Granary, and post cremation burial. A sculpture bearded priest and the famous bronze statue of the dancing girl, the Pasupati seal. Dhaulavira, Gujarat. Giant water reservoir, unique water harnessing system and dams, and the emblematic stadium inscription comprising 10 large size science advertisement board. The Lothal, Gujarat, Manchester of the Indus Valley Civilization, important site for the naval trade and the had a dockyard. The practice of the burial and cemented remains rice husk, fire altars, painted jar, modern days chess, and the terracotta figure of the horse and ship. The instruments for the measuring 45, 90, and 180-degree angles. Rakhigarhi, Haryana. It is the largest site of the Indus Valley Civilization. Granary, cemetery, drainage, terracotta bricks. The Ropan, Punjab. Located on the bank of Satluj, dog buried with the human oval pit burials, copper X. Balthal and Kalibanga, Rajasthan. Bengal factory toy crafts bones of camel, terracotta bricks, decorated bricks and settled and lower town fire altars. Surkotda, Gujarat. First actual remains of the horse born. Banwali, Haryana. On the dried of the Saravasti river, uh, toy plod barley and the grain lapis lazuli. Fire altars overshaped the settlement only city with the radial estate. Alamgirpur, UP. On the bank of Yamuna, easternmost site of the IVC, a broken blade of the copper uh, ceramic items of the impression of the cloth on the trot. Mauryan art and architecture. Mauryan art divided into two parts: the court art state initiative, popular art individual initiatives. The court आर्ट स्टेट में पिलर स्तूपा, पॉपुलर आर्ट इंडिविजुअल में स्कल्पचर कैव्स पोट्री. पिलर they are an example of court art made in the white grey sandstone columns erected by Asoka. They are sacred site of associated with the Buddha's life or the commemorated a great event. They have an the average height of about 40 meters and feet. They are tall, tapering monolithics with sculptural capital. Two types of stone used: spotted red and white sandstone Mathura and buff-colored fine-grained sandstone Chunar. They have the uniformity of style and have the highly polished surface. Example: Lion capital of Sarnath, Bull capital of the Rampurwa, and Lion capital of the Lore Nandana Nandagar. Sarnath, Lion Capital, national emblem of India. The capital without the crowning wheel and the lotus base has been adopted as the national emblem of the independent India. Dharma Chakra Parivartana, built by the Asoka to commemorate at the first ceremony by the Buddha at Sarnath. The motif of the chakra represented Dharma Chakra. The abacus has the depiction of the chakra wheel having the 24 spokes in the four directions, and the bull, a horse, an elephant, and a lion is the finally covered. Originally consisted of the five component parts: the staff, a lotus bell base, a drum on the bell, a base with the four animal, the figure of four majestic addressed lion, and the crowning elephant dharma chakra. Asoka pillar, monolithic inscribed from a single piece of the stone, mainly Chunar sandstone, independently erected by the royal decision. Uh, Achemanian pillars, the made of the various pieces of the sandstone cemented together, generally attached to the state buildings. Stupas. The stupa was not unknown in the India before the time of Asoka. Originally, 9 stupa were built after the death of Buddha. 8 of them over the relics and the ninth over the vessels of which the relics were depicted. Example: Rajagar, Vaisali, Kapilavastu, Alakpa, Ramgarh, Vethadipa, Pava, Kusinagar, Piplavania. Use of poetry: storage of water, food grain, extraction. Miniature vessels were used for decoration. Perfected poetry was probably used for the stirring liquor. Important features: it consists of the circular ends and with a harmonica and the chatra on the top. The core is made of the unburnt brick and the outer face of the burnt brick covered with the thick layer of the plaster. It is surrounded by the wooden fence enclosing a path for the Pradakshina, circumambulatory path. Three chakra represented Tirthanas, Buddha, the enlightenmented Dhamma, doctrine, and Sangha order. Later on, gateway on the Tornas were also added. Example: Stupa of the Bharat in Rajasthan and Sachi Stupa. In early phase, Buddha is depicted symbolically. And the example: footprint, stupa, lotus throne, chakra. Gradually, narrative was used to the represented Buddha. Event from the life of the Buddha, birth, renunciation, etc. Jatka story were depicted on the railings and the stones of the stupas. Cave. Rock-cut caves were constructed during this phase. The two important features: the polishing inside cave and development of the artist gateways. Example: Sudama and the Lomus Rishi cave were uh, notable rock-cut caves at the Barabar Naga Arjuni hills near the Gaya, Bihar. Sculpture, popular art. They were not commissioned by the emperor, rather were patronized by the local governors. The mostly in the standing position. Polished surface finishing depiction of the face is the null round with the pronounced checks and the physiographic details. Example: life-size standing image of the Yakshini holding a chauri, Flavis from the Didarganj near the modern Patna. Pottery. The most highly developed techniques is seen in northern black polished ware NBPW. The northern black polished ware is made of the finely levigated alluvial clay. It can be distinguished from the other polished or the graphic coated red wars by its peculiar luster and brilliance. It was the largely used for the dishes and the small bowls. Post-Mauryan art. Cave. The Buddhist cave dating back to the 2nd century BC onward have been executed in all the Chaitya caves. Stupa at back is the common. The Vihara were also there in the caves. The Chaitya, prayer hall of the monks. Vihara, place of the residence slash rest for the monks. Three architectural types: apsidal vault, apsidal vault, flat roofed. Foot Chaitya Hall, Ajanta. Sculpture, stupas. Stupa built during the Ashoka's time were the enclosed by the wooden fence and later by the store blast. blustered. The four gateways were now the covered with the beautiful sculpture. For example, Stupa 1 and at Sachi, Bharat Stupa MP sculpture, Gandhara style, Mathura style, and Amravati style of stupas. You can say basis Gandhara, Mathura, and Vengi Amravati. Influence Gandhara influenced the Greek and Hellenistic influenced, also called the Indo-Greek. Mathura influenced no outside influence indigenous. Vengi या अमरावती इंडिजिनियस इन्फ्लुएंस टाइप ऑफ द सैंडस्टोन गंधारों में ग्रे ब्लूइश ग्रे सैंडस्टोन मथुरा में स्पॉटेड रेड सैंडस्टोन अमरावती वाइट मार्बल्स द रिलीजियस इन्फ्लुएंस द गंधारा मेनली बुद्धिस्ट मथुरा ऑल थ्री रिलीजियस जैनिज्म बुद्धिज्म हिंदुज्म एंड अमरावती मेनली बुद्धिस्ट द पैटर्न द गंधारा कुषाण डायनेस्टी Mathura Kusan dynasty, Amravati, Satvahana and the Ichukus areas, and Gandhara northwestern frontier, Mathura Sonkha Kankaliti mostly Jainism, the Krishna Godavari lower valley. The features of the sculpture Gandhara spiritual Buddha said. The delegated Buddha's example reflected narratives. अमरावती में Gandhara Buddha represents the calmless beard and the mustaches, wearing less ornaments, waxy hairs. Greek, the large foreheads. Greek, Buddha is seated in the position of the yogi, having large ears. Greek, eyes half closed, uh, protuberance on his head signifies that Buddha known all. Mathura, not spiritual. Buddha's not spiritual. Head and face seven. Dress is the tight and ingredient in a granite body. Face reflects the grace seated in the Padmasana. Right hand the Abhya Mudra indicated the resurgence raised above the shoulder. Left hand on left right reflects the muscularity. Protuberance on head. Amaravati. Buddha themes based on the life of the Buddha and Jataka story, a story of the previous birth and the Buddha both in the human as well as animal form. The sculptural composition is the more complex and the characterized by the intense emotion. Bodies are the shown with the three bends and the Tribhanga. Gupta age and golden age of the Indian architecture. Brahminical with the special devotion of the Vishnu showed exemplary tolerance of the both Buddhism and Jainism. Puranic Hinduism with the three deities Vishnu, Shiva, and Shakti come to forefront. The rock cut cave, Ajanta cave, the perpendicular cliff stop, Ajanta cave में located in Aurangabad district, Maharashtra state. Ajanta has the 29 cave for Chaitya cave belonging to the Buddhism. They are the covered on the perpendicular cliff and thus have no courtyards. All three art forms are combined here: the architecture, sculpture, and paintings. Ellora cave. It is also located in Aurangabad district. Is Ellora. 32 caves, Buddhist 12, and the Brahminical and Jainism cave. Stylistic acceleratism influences on many styles at one place. The caves are big in the size are the single, double, and triple story. These were the covered out of the sloping side of hills, hence the heavy courtyards, sculpture or mountains. Sculpture were the monumental and have been protruding. The Kailash Leaning. It has been covered out of the single rock. Elephant Cave. The elephant caves located near the Mumbai and are the contemporary of Ellora, originally Buddhist site, which was later dominated by the Sattvic faith. The sculpture shown the sandalness in the body with the start light on the dark effect. The Bagh Cave. It is located near the Indore in Madhya Pradesh. Nine sandstone Buddhist cave with the beautiful forces and sculpture work. A Junagadh cave Aprakta. It is an ancient fortress. It enters in the form of the archon in the fine specimen of the Hindu Torna. Uh, up, Upper Coated has many interesting Buddhist caves and was evidently the site of the monastery in the ancient time. Nasik Cave. It is located in the southwest Nasik and Trimbakam range of Himalaya. 23 Buddhist caves belonging to Himalayan period. These are called a Panduleni, meaning group of caves. Motenrji Cave, the only Brahminical cave to be converted into the Chaitanya shrines. It is also known as a Mandapeswara Cave. The fresco is the technique for the mural painting executed upon the freshly laid limbs plaster. Water is used as the vehicle for the pigment and with the setting of the plaster. The painted because bec- becomes the integral part of the wall sculpture. And the Sarnath School of Sculpture, plain transparent drapery covering both shoulders. The halo around the heads have has very little ornaments. Example: Sultanganj Buddha, 7.5 feet in height. Temple architecture. Beginning of Indian temple architecture. The Gupta temple were the five main types. Type 1, Nachankutra, a square building with the flat roof, uh, s- shallow pillared porch. The nucleus of a temple, the sanctorum, or the cells of the Garbhagriha with a single entrance and the porch mandapa appears for the first time here. Example: Kankali Devi Temple, Tigwa. Type 2, Lad Khan Temple. Addition of an ambulatory pardakshina around the sanctorum. Sometimes a second story is also found. Example: Shiva Temple, Bhumbra, MP. Lord Khan Ahilya and Prabhavati Temple, Nanchal Kuntra, MP. 10 Avtara Temple, square temples with low and square towns, Sikhara above. Pillared approach, a high platform at the base. The success of the third stage lead to the Nagara style temple making. Example: 10 Avtara Temple, Devghar, and Brick Temple, Bhitargaon. Kapteswara Temple, rectangular temple with the upsidal back or barrel vaulted roof above. Example: Kapteswara Temple, Sejal, Andhra Pradesh. Manyar Math, the circular temples with the shallow rectangular project at the four cardinal face. Example: Manyar Mutt Shrine at the Rajgir, Bihar. Style of temple architecture: Nagara style, Dravida style, Naika style, Vesra style, Hoysala style, Vijayanagar style, Pala Sena school. The Nagara school of architecture. This type is the popular in North India, built on a stone platform with a step leading up to it. The the Panchayatan style. The subsidiary shrine are laid out the crucified groups plan. The temples are made of the sandstone. There are no water tanks or the reservoir. Two major characteristics of this style: uh, crudified grounds plan. The square temples with the number of the ground graduated projection. The Rathkas in the middle of the each face. The curvilinear tower shikhra gradually curving inward and capped by a serfida slab with the ribs around the edge. Amlaka give the elevation. Shikhra Shikhra pillar approach a sanctorum, upraised platform, ambulatory pathways. Types of शिखरा: रेखा प्रसाद और लैटिना, फमसाना, बाल बाल वाल्वी टाइप. रेखा प्रसाद और लैटिना, squared at base, walls covering inward to a point on the top. Fam Famsana, a broader base and the shorter height than the Latina, a slope upward on the ascent line. Valve type, rectangular base and rectangular base, roof rising into the vaulted chamber, also called the wagon vaulted roofs. Sub school under the Nagara, Odisha school. Architecture architecture features classified in the three order: Rekha, Pida, Pida Dual and the Kharka. Dual Shikhra is the vertical until the top when is suddenly covered sharply inward. The mandapam are called the Joga Mohana. Base is always square. In the upper reaches and the superstructure become the circular. The extreme and the lavishly covered and the intrinsic inter inter interwires and the quiet bars. They have the boundary walls. Example: Konark Temple, Jagannath Temple, Lingaraj Temple, etc. Khajuraho Chandel School. Both the interior and exterior wall were the lavishly decorated. The erotic in the themes and the draw inspiration from the Vatsyayan Kama Sutra. The temple were made the sandstone. Three chamber Garbhagriha Mandapam and the Adra Mandapam. Antara, a vestibular entrance to be the Garbhagriha, generally north or east facing. Kandariya Mahadev Temple. The Panchayatan style of temple making was followed. Even the subsidiary shrine had the Rekha Prasad Sikhras. The built on the relatively high platform belong to the Hindu as well as Jain religion. Example: Kandariya Mahadev Temple, Lakshman Temple at Khajuraho, etc. Solanki Maru Guzara style wall where the divide of any carving. Garbhagriha is the connected with the mandapam both the internally as well externally. The Patyok have been decorative arched gateway known as the tornas. The presence of the step tank known as the Surya Kund in the proximity of the temple. The steps of the tank are the full of the small temple. Materials use sandstone, black blast, basalt, and the soft marble. Example: Modra Sun Temple, Gujarat, built in 1026 to 27 by Bhima first. Temple architecture in South India. Shore Temple, Kailash Nath Temple. The temple architecture in South India began under the Pallava ruler Mahendra Varman. The temple developed during the Pallava dynasty can be classified into the four stages chronologically. Mahendra Varman group. First stage of the Pallava temple architecture. Temple built where the rock cut temple. Temples were known as the mandapas. Note: in the Nagara style, mandapams means only the assembly hall. Narsimha Varman group, second stage. Rock cut temple were the decorated by the intricate subsculpture. Mandapams were now the divided into the separate raths. Biggest one the Dharmaraja Rath and the smallest one the Draupadi Rath. Note: design of the Dravidian style of architecture is a successor of the Dharmaraja Rath. Rajsimha Varman group. Third stage. Development of the real structural temple was started in the place of the rock cut temple. Example: Shore temple at Mahabalipuram, Kailash Nath temple at the Kanchipuram, etc. Nandi Varman group, fourth stage. The temple were the smaller in size. Features were similar to the Dravidian style. Group of the monument at Mahabalipuram. It is an UNESCO World Heritage Site. Monuments include Pancharath, Vara Cave Temple, Krishna Cave Temple, Panchpadava Cave Temple, and the Mahish Surmadini Mandapam, Descent of the Ganges, Shore Temple Complex, etc. Dravidian style of temple architecture. Developed under the patronage of the Chola ruler and was a continuation of the Pallava architecture. They were surrounded by the high boundary wall, Gopuram, a high entrance gateway on the front hall, Panchayatan style with a principal temple and four subsidiary shrines, Vimana, the sphere in the form of the stepped pyramid at rises up linearly rather than curved. There is only a Vimana on top of the main temple. The subsidiary shrine do not have a Vimanas. Sikhra, the crown elephant shaped in the form of an octagon. Anantarala, the assembly hall connected with the Garbhagriha by a vestibular tunnel. The entrance of the Garbhagriha had a sculpture of the Davarpal and the Mithun and the Yaksh. The presence of the water tank inside the temple in enclosures. Example, Brihdeswara temple at Tanjore, built by the Raja Raj first in 1011 AD. Gangekonda Cholapuram temple built by the Rajendra first. It the commemorate his the victory of the Gangetic Delta etc. द्रविड़ स्टाइल टेम्पल वाटर टैंक मिलेगा आपको, गर्भगृह मिलेगा, सब्सिडरी श्राइन, गोपुरम यानी गेट वाला रास्ता, असेंबली हॉल मिल जाएगा, अंतरायण विमाना, ऊपर वाले पोर्शन को, ये वाले पोर्शन को विमाना बोलते हैं। ओके, चोला स्कल्पचर नटराज, sculpture of the Nataraj in the Nanda Dev dance postures, Tandava dance postures. Shiva is balancing on right leg and suppressing Apsmara, demon of the ignorance. Left leg is the raised in the Bhujangatasita stance. It represents the kinging away the will of the Maya or illusion from the devotee's mind. Upper right hand holds the dhamaru to keep on the beat tala. Upper left hand is the held in the dhola dasta and the connected with the abhaya hasta of the right hand. The false flay on the both the sides of the touching the greyland of the fame which the surrounds the entire dancing figuration. Nayaka style and Vijayanagara style का टेम्पल, मीनाक्षी टेम्पल, लोटस महल. All the features of Dravida style are present. Parakrams, the huge corridor along with the roofed ambassadorial pathways. Intricate the carving seen all across the temple walls. The large tank set the silently of a axis of an temples. The surrounded by the step and the pillar, the portico, the tank was used for the ritual bathing. Example, Meenakshi Sundarswara temple at Madurai. Introduced concept the enlarged high enclosure wall and the more the decoration on this wall and the gopuram. A sculpture on the motif of the supernatural horses was used very frequently. Introduced concept of the sculpture building, example Lotus Mahal. The temples are the man Amman Shrine, male deity of temple, and the Kalyan Mandapam of for exhibition of the worshipping. Vaisara Chalukya Karnataka School. This style has feature of the both Nagara and the Dravida style. The patronized by the Chalukya, Rashtrakuta and Hosala. Nagara style curvilinear Sikhra and the square base. The Dravida style intricate the carving and the sculpture design the Vimana and the trace the Sikhra. And the departing from the Dravidian style in does not have the covered embassadry surround sanctorum. Example, Lad Khan temple at the Ahilya, temples at the Badami, and the Virupaksha temple at the Patadakal. Miscellaneous Hoysala arts. Prominent seats the Vellore, Haled, and the Sringeri. Multiple shrines were the built around the central pillar hall. The settled plain shrine lead out the space of the intricately designed star. The soft stone was the main building materials. Both the interior and the exterior wall have been intricate carving. All the chambers have the sikhra interconnected by the arrangement of the horizontal line and moldings. Jakti. The temple were the built on a upraised platform of about 1 meter height. The zigzag path of the walls and stairs. Example Hoysala temple at the Haladi, Vijayanagara temple at Vellore. Palas and Sena school. Pala king built a vihara, chaitya and stupa. Example University of Nalanda, Jagad Jagadhar and Odantipuri and Vikramshila. The Sena were the Hindus and they built the temple of the Hindu gods and also sustained Buddhist architecture. Example Dakshin Dakshinawari temple in the Bangladesh. Features: the buildings had been covered or the sloping roof as the bamboo huts. The terracotta bricks were the principal building materials. The temples held the tall, carving the sikhra covered by the large amlak. A sculpture, both stone as well as the metal, was used. The figure were the unique in their the highly lotus fishing fish. Important inscription and edicts. Sohgauda copper plate, pre-Asoka Brahminical inscription that mentioned in famine relief effect. The Roman Dei pillar edicts uh, Lumbini. The minor pillar inscription mentioned Asoka visit to Lumbini. Roman Dei. Rupandehi district, Nepal, and the birthplace of the Lord Buddha. Asoka exempted the Lubni from the paying a tax and fixed the contribution of the grain and one at 1/8. The Allahabad pillar inscription. It is Asoka Stamba but has a four different inscription. Asoka inscription in the Brahmini script as in all the pillar. The Queen edicts mentioned in the charitable deeds of Asoka's wife Kora Korvaiki. Samundragupta inscription written by the Harisena Prayag Prasasti in Sanskrit language and the Brahminical script. Jahangir's inscription in Persian. Mehrauli iron pillar inscription in Qutub Minar complex established by the Chandragupta II Gupta dynasty as a Vishnu Pada in the Hon Lord Vishnu credit the Chandragupta with the conquest of the Vanga and the Vakatas. Note the rest of the resident composition of the metal and used in its construction. Kalsi inscription. It is the Prakrit language and the inscript is the Brahmini. It reflects the Asoka human approach, the commitments to non-violence and the restriction of war. The Maski inscription Karnataka. Maski river is the tributary of the Tungbhadra. It is the minor rock edict of Emperor Asoka. It contains the names of Asoka in the instead of the um, Devanam Priya or Priyadarshini. Kalinga Edict Odisha. The language is the Magadhi Prakrit and this script is the Um, Brahmi. They are pieces of making the nature and the means for the pacification of the newly conquered people of the Kalinga. Ahilya inscription Karnataka. Written in Sanskrit Kannada script by the Ravi Kirti court poet of the Pulkesin II. It mentioned about the defeat of the Harshavardhana by the Pulkesin II and the victory of the Chalukyas over Palwas. It also mentioned about the shifting of the capital from Ahilya to Badami. Gufa inscription. It is the form of Udayagiri um, Khandagiri cave in Odisha. It is written in Prakrit language and the Brahmini script. It mentions the history of the Kharvela as the king, a conqueror of patterns of the cultures, and a champion of the Jainism. Indo-Islamic style. The basic feature of the Indo-Islamic style. The main elements in the Islamic architecture is introduced of the arch and beams. And it is the arcuate style of the construction while the traditional Indian building style is the trebates using the pillar and beams and lintels. The Islamic styles also incorporated many elements from the traditional Indian style and a compounded style enumerated. They introduced the decorating brackets and the balconies and pendative decoration etc. The architecture is the example in the regard. The another distinguished feature of the Indo-Islamic architecture are the utilization of the coxos charities, chhatris, tall towers, minar, and the half-domed double portals. As human worship and its representation are not allowed in Islam, the building and the other edifices are the generally decorated richly and the geometrical and the arabesque design. The use of the limb and mortar was also the major element distinct from the traditional building style. The tomb architecture is also the another feature of the Islamic architecture, as the practice of the burial of the dead is the adopted. The Mughal tombs are the generally placed at the center of the huge garden complex at the later begin. The subdivided into the square compartment and the style is the known as the Char Bagh. Arabesque method. It is the method of the decoration. Arabesque means the geometricized vegetal ornaments. It is the characterized by the continuous stream which is split regularly producing as a series of the counterpoise the leafy and the secondary stem, which be term split gain or the return to be re, uh, reintegrated into the main stem. Trebett's versus arcuate style components entrance. Trebett's the linton, arcuate mother arch. Second, top Sikhra dome. The minarets Persian influence absent, present for the azons. Materials used stone, brick and limbs mortars. Imperial style dynasty and major features. Slave dynasty. The style developed by them is called the Mamluk style. The started 11th converting the existing structure into mosque. Example Kuwat ul Islam Mosque, Kila Rai Pithora, Qutub Minar of Mehrauli, and Adaiddin ka Jopra at Ajmer. Khilji dynasty. The style developed by them is called the Seljuk style. Major feature the use of the true arch in the form of a uh, pointed horseshoe and broad dome, reserved arc, etc. Tughlaq dynasty. An arc of this period is the heavy, massive and rigid and simple. They use the grey sandstone and the employed the minimum decoration. This period was called the crisis period of architecture. Hence, they are introduced the concept of the sloping walls known as the batter, the combining the principle of the arch and lintel. Sayyid period. The octagonal tombs of the time possess and the distinct architectural character. The decorative features of these tombs consist of the use of the blue emblem little and enhancing the color effect. The lotus motif crowding the tomb and free use of the gold Guldasta, the considerably influenced the style of the conquest period, Lodi style. In the Lodi period, there is the indication of the certain amount of the imagination and the bold varieties of the design. The enamel title, the decoration tended to the rich and the more lavish. The tomb architecture of this period is of two types. Through both have the granite walls. One is the octagonal in design, having the verandas, and other is a square in the plan, having no veranda. The spacious, somewhat the ornamental, allowed the garden and encloses to the tombs, which is gives the whole ensemble and the elegance. Provincial style. Bangladesh School of the Architecture. The use of the different building materials and the education of the detail inspired by the local tradition, having the made them the quite distinct. The pillar in the Bengal are the generally short and the square, and the opening is the usually accurate. The covered bricks and the glazed title were the usually pressed into the services for the decoration. The Malwa School of Architecture. It is the essentially archived some of its original features where the skillful and the elegant use of the arch with the pillar and the beam, lofty terracottas approached by well proportionated Starway impressive and the design the dignified size of the building, use of the various color and stone and the marbles and the partly by the right colored gazette title. The minarets is the absent in this style. The notable example are the Rani Rupmati Pavilion, Asraf Mahal, Jahaz Mahal, Mandu Fort. Junar School of Architecture. It was influenced by the building of the Tughlaq period, but it typically features where was it is a bold and the forceful character expressed in the huge imposing plan screen filling the central and side base of the prayers hall. It was developed by the Sarki dynasty, hence also called the Sarki style. Notable example is Atala Masjid. Bijapur School. It developed during the reign of the Adil Shahi, and the most important example is Gol Gumbaz. Mughal period. Babur major feature. Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire, was the man of the culture and the exceptional architect. For the 4 year he ruled in India. Most of this time was spent in war. However, he was the found of the formal gardens, and the couple of the gardens are the uh, ascribed to him. The no architecture worthy of the note was made during this time was except perhaps a couple of the mosque. Humayun, the first distinct example of the proper Mughal architecture enshrined by the Persian architecture is the tomb of Humayun in Delhi, built by his the widow uh, Begha Begum. This is tomb is the important for the proper study of the development of the later Mughal architecture. Akbar was the keenly interested in the art and architecture, and his architecture is a happy blend of the Hindu and Islamic modes of the construction of or ornamentation. The Agra fort, built with the red sandstone, is an example where the Rajput architecture style were also used. The new capital city of Akbar, Fatehpur Sikri, enclosed within its walls several inspiring buildings. Jahangir. The mausoleum of Akbar at the Sikandra near the Agra, started by Akbar, was completed by Jahangir. It includes some Buddhist architecture elements. The tomb of the um, Itimad ul Dawla, father of Nur Jahan, built by the Jahangir, was the first Mughal building built by completely with the white marble. The Shah Jahan, and beside the construction a number of the elegant and lavishly in decorated buildings such as the Khas Mahal, Diwane Khas Moti Masjid, as well as the Jama Masjid in Delhi. Shah Jahan erected a most romantic and the fabulous building, the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is a square tomb built on the raised the terrace with the graceful, the tall um, um, minarets and its four combers. Aurangzeb region witnesses the construction of the Badshahi Mosque in the Lahore and the marble tomb of the Rai-ud-Daurani, known as the Bibi Ka Maqbara, tomb of the lady at Aurangabad. Modern India and the European influence. The European who come to India for the trade established there the settlement at the various places. The Portuguese at Goa established impressive churches in the style of the Iranian architecture, and the English through in the less of the ambitious manner built churches resembling at the English village churches. Victorian architecture in India made a mistake by the attempting the copy oriental style with the trying to construct the public buildings. The pavilion style of the architecture was the sought to be introduced in India by some other British officer in the 18th century. In the second half of the 9th century, some of the European builders in India tried to tear the best of the combined elements and the feature from the Indian and Western architecture. The pioneer of this movement was the civilian servant S.F. Garvez. The museum at Jaipur and the Moor Market in Madras, now Chennai, are the example of this style of architecture. Sardar Ram Singh designed the Central Museum and the Senate House at the Lahore in Pakistan. G. Vittel designed the Gateway of India in Mumbai, borrowing several elements of the Mughal style. The Victory Terminus station, known as the Chhatrapati Shivaji Station in the Mumbai, is the outstanding example of the Victory Gothic revival architecture in India, blend with the theme deriving from the Indian traditional architecture. The building, designed by the British architecture F. W. Stevens, became the symbol of the Bombay, now the Mumbai, as the Gothic city. The era of the national awakening. At the end of the Victorian era, India entered the era of national awakening and movement. The architecture represented the uh, chartered of the time, the combination of the imperial needs and the national earth. The British wanted to perpetuated the memory of the Queen Victoria in India by the erecting a memorial hall in her the name. The architecture of the Victory Memorial Hall, designed by the William Emerson, would not make it the striking pieces in Indo-British style. The Indian characteristics suppressed the it as a five in the Saracenic revival. It was also known as Indo-Gothic, Mughal Gothic, and Neo-Mughal or Hindu Gothic style. It was the architectural style movement by the British architecture in the late 19th century in British India. It drew the element from the indigenous and the Indo-Islamic architecture and the combined with the Gothic revival and the Indo-classical style favored in the Victorious England. The structure of this design, particularly those built in India and England, were the built in the conference to advance British structural engineering standards of the 1800th century. Some of the characteristics of this style are onion bulbous domes, overhanging eaves, and the pointed arch, scooped arch or the sculpted and arch, vaulted roofs, and domed many miniature domed chatrias, uh, pinnacles, towers, and the minarets, open pavilion, and the parias arcades. The plan for Delhi. The chief architect, Sir Edwin Lutyens, and his the colleague Sir Edward Packer at the first prepared design in the neo-Roman style, but this design appeared inappropriate to the Indian background. The British architecture set themselves to study the Buddhist, Hindu, and Islamic feature while redrawing the plan for Delhi. Finally the capital emerged with the majestic building. The Viceroy Palace appeared with the huge dome on the limbs of the Buddhist stupa, and the most of the building represented some elements of the Hindu ornaments or Islamic symmetry. Jamia Millia Islamia. The Jamia Millia Islamia at Delhi represents the age of the revolutionary idea when the exit of colonial imperialism was begun. Question on the national movement was the getting stronger by the day, and the Karl Hessing, a German architect, was the commissioned for this project with the construction that the should stay clear elements of the British Mughal architecture in the keeping with the anti-imperialistic stand that the founder of Jamia School for. Differences between Portuguese and British style. Iberian Portuguese, Gothic British. Material use: brick as the main materials, wooden roof and the strength, the red sandstone and coarse limestone. Structure variation: no creation of the new shape or the construction reinter- reinterpreted Western style involve the creation of the new shape and the structure. Plaster carving, prominent feature, old Goa churches absent. Some famous architect of the modern India, Luke Barker, Bakir बोल सकते हैं. He was called as the architect of the poor and the conscience keeper of the India. He merged the building with the environment and utilized the locally available materials. He to reduce the consumption of the steel and cement. He introduced the filler slab construction. While the designing, he kept the eye on the concern related to the ventilation and the thermal comfort. He revolutionized the mass housing in Kerala. Karl Heinz. He was the German architect and was commissioned with the construction that he should stay clear of element of the British or the Mughal architecture in the keeping with anti-imperialistic stand of the nationalistic Jamia Millia Islamia Delhi. Hence used the local materials like the sand, stone and the limb which were easily available. Red sandstone building with the white domes with the big courtyard and the windows was the major feature. It can call as a modern style of architecture. Le Corbusier. He was the French architect. He designed the city of Chandigarh on the pattern of the well-ordered matrix. He connect, conceived the idea of the sector as self-sufficient green belt. The regular grid for the fast traffic was take care of. The Charles Corrin, he was the gone architect and played the pivotal role post independence. He placed the special emphasis on the prevailing the resources, energy, and the climate as the major determinants of the ordering of the space. He did the pioneer work in the urban issue and the low cost shelter in the third world. Example planning of the new Navi Mumbai, Kanchenjunga apartment, Mumbai, British Council building, New Delhi, etc. Thank you for watching, friends. Please subscribe our channel.